Hello, this is Steve Sanangelo from the SRS Rock Report with a new YouTube video presentation on how U.S. investors continue to devour Canadian silver and gold maple leaf bullion products. I mean, it's amazing. Canada produces a lot of silver maples and bars, as well as gold maples and bars, but the majority of that is being exported, and most of that Americans are buying, and a lot more this year. So that's what we're going to talk about. Before we get into that, I just want to let you know that Cloud Hard Assets is, if you're looking to buy the 2021 Canadian silver maple leaf coins, they have the lowest prices, $4.70 over spot. You can check around other dealers, but these are the main dealers right here, and this is what Cloud Hard Assets is selling them for. So you might want to check them out. Now, last year, while China and India are the largest gold investors in the world, Americans are the largest investors of silver. And we could see last year that Americans purchased 78.2 million ounces of physical coin and bar. Now, what's interesting, Germany has really moved up, and I think that was due to the pandemic shutdowns, all the massive increase in debt, a lot of the central bank liquidity policies that were going on. Germans are very familiar with hyperinflation that they suffered in the 1920s. So we see a large increase in physical silver buying by Germans. Now, what's interesting, India is normally a very big investor of silver, but it totally shut down last year. And that was due to higher prices of silver, but mostly due to the pandemic shutdown. And Canada, if we look at Canada, Canada invested, according to the World Silver Survey, 7.9. Look at that. That's a tenth of what the United States purchased. And China, they're not big investors of silver, only 6.9 million ounces. Now, remember these numbers that Canada only invested in about 7.9 million ounces of silver, because how much silver that they produce. Now, before I get into that, I just want to let you know at the SRS Rock Report, we have silver and gold member subscriber articles. And for the last year, India has been totally gone. They're usually very big investors of silver, and they import a lot of silver monthly, between 350 and 500 metric tons a month. But when the pandemic hit, it fell down to like 10, 12, 15 metric tons a month, almost nothing. But that all changed. And if you want to check that out, that's for the silver members at the SRS Rock Report. Now, what is fascinating about the world's leading silver coin fabrication, and these are the major coins that we see, the official coins. Canada produced the most, 33.3 million ounces, and these were the mostly silver maples. United States, silver eagles. Australia, all the different kinds of silver products that they produce. The UK, a lot of the silver Britannia, and China has the silver pandas. Austria has the Australia silver Philharmonics, and then South Africa is producing a lot of the silver Krugerrands now. They weren't doing that before. They're just producing gold Krugerrands, and I think that number is really going to continue to increase. I think South Africa is going to produce a lot more silver Krugerrands. Now, what's interesting, while Canada produces almost the same amount of silver maples and silver bullion products as the United States, Canadians don't buy that much. You have to remember, they only invested 7.9 million ounces of silver. So if they purchased all the silver from the Royal Canadian Mint, that's a lot left over. And so they're exporting most of that silver and gold, and a majority of that Americans are purchasing. So this is from the Royal Canadian Mint's 2020 annual report. Basically what it shows, 2020, they produced 29.5 million ounces of silver. And that also includes ounces from customer inventory deals. But it's a net 29.5 million ounces of silver maples and silver bars. And gold, they produced 982,800 ounces of gold maples and bars. Now, you're going to see how much that they actually invested in. So if we look at this chart, North America, where did most of the sales? And we could see the majority is 2.5 billion in total revenues. 2.3 billion is bullion products. 1.6 billion is North America, but that's actually mostly United States, not Canada. And then we see 685 million Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and 187 million for Asia and Australia. So about 65% is going to North America. I would imagine 50 to 55% is going to the US, and the remainder is going to Canadians. So if we look at this table, this is from the World Gold Council. It shows global gold bar and coin demand 2010 to 2020. And right here, United States and Canada. These are in metric tons. If we convert them, last year, Americans purchased 2,135 ounces of gold, mostly gold eagles, maples, Krugerrands, other official gold coins, and then bars. Canada only invested, the total last year was 244,300 ounces. That's it. So if we go back and look at the Royal Canadian Mint's gold sales last year of 982,800 ounces, and this is their total investment according to the World Gold Council. And let's just assume that they purchased all the gold from the Royal Canadian Mint. That means that the Royal Canadian Mint exported 737,900 ounces of gold. And the majority of that went to Americans. And if we look at the silver, they did 29.5 million ounces of silver, maples, and bars. They only invested, or have to remember, the World Silver Survey says Canadians only invested 7.9 million. Let's just assume that they purchased all that silver from the Canadian Mint. That means they exported 21.6 million. It's probably larger than that. And the majority of that actually also goes to Americans. So let's look at the first half of 2021. In the first half of 2021, we see a big increase, almost 19 million ounces of silver, almost 19 million ounces. It's up from 13.7. So that's almost 5 million ounces more. And look at the gold. Gold is almost doubled. There's 97% increase, 777,200 ounces. Again, most of that is being exported, and the majority of it is being exported to American buyers. So if we look at this chart for the first half of 2021, this is the total revenues, 1.8 billion. Most of it, 1.7, is bullion products and services. North America, 1.26 billion. So it's 68%, with about 55 or more percent going to the United States. So I got this figure right here. Let's move forward. I went to the World Gold Council and I found out how much gold that the US and Canada invested for the first half of 2021. This was full year 2020, 2.1 and 244. What's interesting, the gold and silver is Canada to the US is about 10%. Here it's a little bit more, but Canadians were investing about 10% of the silver and a little more than 10% of gold compared to the US. Now, according to the World Gold Council, US gold investment shot up considerably. I mean, we're talking 2.1 million ounces for the full year. It's already at 1.9, almost 2 million ounces in the first half. It's up 93%. But look, this is what the total Canadian gold investment is, 164,000 ounces. So the US has added 1,048,000 ounces of gold in the first half. And Canada, it's 45,000 compared to the first half of 2020. So Americans are buying a lot more gold. And again, a lot of that gold is coming from the Royal Canadian Mint. So if we go back here, this is the 164. Again, The Royal Canadian Mint produced 777,200 ounces of gold. This is what their demand is for the first half of 2021. Let's assume it's all coming from the Royal Canadian Mint. They exported 613,000 ounces of gold. Their Royal Canadian Mint silver sales, 18.9 million ounces. I'm assuming it's about the same percentage. So they invested about 4.8 million ounces. They've exported 14.1, and a large percentage of that has been purchased by Americans. So this is for 2020. This is USA versus Canada silver bar and coin investment, 2020 versus my estimated first half 2021. Again, Americans purchased 78.2 million ounces of silver last year, Canadians 7.9, about 10%. I figure that the investment demand in the United States has moved up to 45 million ounces. Could be more, but that's my estimate, 45 million ounces in the first half. And the Canadians, it's about 4.8, which is still about 10%. So it is amazing. A lot of this silver and gold that's produced in Canada is being sent to wholesalers and dealers in the United States and has been purchased by Americans. Now, why is this important? Why I see both gold and silver prices moving up. I see silver really outperforming. And there's a reason for that. This is the global bond and equity values versus total known above ground public and private silver investment value for 2020. Last year, the global bond value is 123.5 trillion. That's trillion, because this is in billions. So we have a comma right there, 125.5 trillion. The stock market, almost 106 trillion. Now, I'm going to talk about these because if the total equity and bonds equal 229 trillion, total known silver investment, known, there could be more, is about 130 billion. 130 billion, and only 50 billion is total known public silver. And I'm going to show you. This is the silver depositories. Here is the much hated COMEX right here. 357 million ounces. And then we have the iShares Silver Trust, the ETF Securities, Sprott, Deutsche Bank. So if we add them up, it's about 1.6 billion. And then the LBMA has a lot of silver. It's about 2 billion ounces of silver. And so this is what is more, I would say, publicly, where if you want to go on the exchange and buy silver, if you want to buy an ETF, this is the amount of silver that there is. However, 2.1 billion ounces of above ground silver investment stocks that are publicly available, and that's for financial institutions and large investors. This is the total coin and bar investment since 2000, and 718 million ounces are just from Canadian maples and silver eagles of the 3.1 billion. So all of this, most of this is held by the private investor at home, a lot of small and medium investors. So if you're a large investor that wants to get into silver, like a lot of these companies are trying to buy energy now, natural gas, and they're trying to buy coal. They're not going to call you up on the phone. They're not going to call up a retail store and buy a small 20-gallon LNG tanks. These big buyers are going to buy on the wholesale market to get their natural gas or to get their coal. When the market gets into serious trouble, the treasuries and the bonds and the currencies, large institutions and large investors are going to move into silver and gold, especially silver. And this is all they can get, about 2 billion ounces. They're not going to knock on people's door and buy 500 box of silver maples. They're not going to do that. So even though there's a lot of the precious metal community going after the COMEX and the JP Morgan, iShares, SLV boogeyman, when institutions and large investors try to get into silver when the markets really start to break up. This is all they're going to get into. This is going to be the main driver of the silver price, I believe, in the beginning, is going to be large institutional investors moving into this little bit of silver. That's why it's important for regular investors to continue to acquire physical silver. So with the Americans being the largest consumers of investors of silver, I see that continuing. I think we're going to hit between 90 and 100 million ounces this year. And I think we could see continued increase or strong buying from Germany. And now India has finally come back into the market. I think Indians are going to start buying silver again. So the world there's still only a fraction of people buying silver, only a fraction. And when we talk retail bullion products like bars and coins, at some point in time, it's going to become unavailable only at much higher premiums and much longer wait times. What's going to happen when investors, large institution investors, want to move into silver and they go on the exchange or the silver ETFs? They're not going to be able to get it. So it's going to push the price up so much higher. So we could see silver ETF premiums, just like we're seeing in retail products, because a lot of investors are moving into the ETF. And JP Morgan has already warned, if there's another big spike in silver investment demand, they may not be able to get the silver. So we have to realize there's certain dynamics taking place in the silver market, not just physical demand. It's also going to be massive financial institutions and large investors coming into silver as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video update. Please check out the SRS Rock Report website for new public articles, as well as silver and gold articles. And if you have not yet subscribed to the SRS Rock Report YouTube channel, please consider doing so. Thank you.